Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is What's Done in the Dark Tea, and we are recapping Love Island Season 8, episodes 27 and episodes 29. I'm sorry, you guys. It was the 4th. I went to see family. I couldn't do the 27th video on time, but I'm just going to mix all of these together for you because 27, it was good, but there wasn't a lot to talk about. So, and I kind of feel the same way about 29. So this video won't be super long. We'll give you a good recap and we'll get ready for our last week. We're in the home stretch, you guys. I don't know what I'm going to do with my time now. I'm going to have so much free time, but be sure like, share, subscribe, and follow because once Love Island ends, we are not done over here. We're on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and we cover celebrity tea and gossip all year long. If you like true crime, we do that on my other channel too, What's Done in the Dark with Tiara. Come and find us over there if you like true crime. But let's get started with episode 27. Okay, so the episode starts off and we're still on the heels of movie night and everything that happened. So this is right after we get the conversation between Casey and Anaya. So this episode starts, we've got Anaya, Trinity, and Mel having a conversation. And Anaya is letting them know that having the conversation with Casey, she feels like that's the most genuine he's ever been with her. She feels like they can both move on now. They're very happy, at peace. I think this was a good thing. Like I said before, I really think that the conversation that they had was good for them. It was much needed. I'm sure that they feel lighter now. Melanie says that she just feels dumb, dealing with all the stuff from Sincere. And I mean, yeah, I honestly, Melanie, let's see, how should I put this? Melanie, Sincere was in the wrong. He definitely is in the wrong. But yeah, I would feel dumb too because yeah, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So Melanie girl, you are looking a little crazy, but I guess that's okay. The part of this episode that is throwing me the most is the other girls. I'm not understanding. You watch your best friend get humiliated. Not once, twice on national television. You've seen her crash out, break down, revert into herself. We've seen every single emotion that could happen coming from Melanie at the hands of Sincere. And y'all are going to say, well, I think that you should just give it a try. You can't just sleep in the bed with him. I know what your heart is thinking. This is terrible advice. Girls are talking, Sin and Casey are talking, and Casey is saying how he feels like a weight is lifted off of his shoulders whenever it comes to him and Anaya. Feels like they can just live now and, just have a good experience. He didn't like seeing himself like that on TV, and I imagine you didn't imagine seeing yourself like that on TV. That was not a good look, Casey. But I will say that seeing Casey and Corbin's growth over the last few episodes, I may say I may have been, actually, no, I wasn't, because the stuff that they were showing, whether it was edited or not, I still stand firm on that Casey and Corbin were doing too damn much. But I also think that we know with these shows, a lot of that can be editing and piecing and all of that together. And it's not saying that he didn't do all of that stuff, but I definitely think that they were laying it on a little thick and letting us see the worst of the worst of the worst. So hopefully they hopefully they continue on this path because I like the redemption of Corbin and Casey. And I'm just going to kind of jump around a little bit, guys. I'm just going to give you the high points of this show. It's nighttime. We get a conversation between Caleb. He's talking to like Trinity, Bryce, everyone at the table. They're kind of sitting around at that night portion having wine. Jaden is only a few steps away from Caleb. She's like, talking like, does he not think that I can hear him? He's having a conversation. She gets annoyed. She's immediately like, hey, you can come and talk to me. If you want to talk about me, you can come and talk to me. Snatches him up. I understand her frustration. That had to have been like an uncomfortable situation, but seeing what they've shown us from Caleb in the villa, I don't imagine that that's his communication style. So I feel like even though after their little argument and they raise their voices at each other and they have that little whatever, I'll say that I don't think, even though they were kind of like pacifying the situation to be like, okay, yeah, we're good, everything's fine, I 100% don't think that that's Caleb's communication style. And I think at that moment he knew it was a wrap for Jaden. He knew before then, but I think that solidified it, and they were just trying to figure out how to make it through the rest of Love Island. Again, we get a shot of the girls. They're giving Melanie just the most terrible advice. They're telling her that they're team sincere. I thought maybe Kata was going to be the one that actually stepped up and said what everybody else was thinking, but apparently she is team sincere too, so they don't care if their friend is getting hurt. Sin plans a date. We get Sin planning a date. It's cute or whatever. Little too late. We get a conversation. We get to see the kind of dynamic between Gal, and he's kind of going between Jen and Amora. Gal is just the worst, honestly. Jen should have never brought him back. I stand on that. Jen, you should have just never brought that man back. Caleb gets a text, and this is the point where we get the recoupling. Ariana comes in. You guys, did you see Ariana Maddox's green dress? Holy. That one. After Love Island, I want Ariana Maddox to give us a workout routine. Whoever her trainer is, whoever what. I want those abs. Whether I can ever attain that, I do not know. But I need to know what she's doing so I can at least try. Oh my God, literal goddess. If nothing else eats during an episode, Ariana always will. So then this is the recoupling. So the guys are choosing who they want to pick. First we have Bryce, and of course he picks Trin. We have Zach. He gives this little speech. He drops the L word again. It's very annoying, but he picks Kata. Corbin picks Pramita. Dylan picks Kinsey. Carl picks Anaya, and they finally get to sleep together. This is very cute. I liked his little speech. He said, revenge is sweet, but you're sweeter. I thought that was very, very cute. Casey and TT, cute. Sin picks Mel. If I was Mel, I'd have been like, pick somebody else. Get somebody else to do it. Caleb picks Jaden, and then we get to Gal. Everyone's favorite Gal. That was sarcasm if you couldn't tell. And he decides that he's going to pick Amora. And before we even have this recoupling, let me just say this about Amora. That was shady, girl. Going to Gal and telling him that Jen talks crazy about him when y'all are in a safe space of the girls' room and y'all are just expressing how you feel is insane. Insane. Pick me final boss. And did him picking you work out for you? I don't think so. I don't think that it did. Gal picks Amora, so Jen ends up getting booted from the island. F you, Gal. Then Ariana has a surprise, and she says 4 more people are going home and the Islanders have to vote. So then we find out that Gal gets his instant karma, and him and Amora are instantly sent home after he did that to Jen. Bye-bye. And then they also send home Caleb and Jaden, and that made me sad because I wanted Caleb to stay. I didn't care about Dylan. He could go, but I really wanted Caleb to stay. And that is pretty much the gist of episode 27. And then 28 is After Sun. And then now we're in 29. So now, episode 29. Now, this episode for me was pretty. Not that it was super exciting, but I do think that kind of these like more positive episodes are kind of needed now. Just because things have been pretty intense. So I do think that these like more fun and cutesy episodes are kind of needed, even though I live for the drama, but I do think that these episodes are kind of needed. So that last challenge that they did where everybody had to essentially rank their couples and, see who they thought should go home based on compatibility has really shook up the villa. What some people said during their votes really, really shook up some things in the villa. So whenever this episode starts, we get a conversation between Kenzie and Dylan, and Kenzie is letting Dylan know how upset she is because Mel chose them. I can understand why Kenzie wasn't, or why Kenzie took that offensively that, her friend picked her, but I don't know if Kenzie's overwhelmed or what it is, but I think it is kind of hard for her to have any sort of self-reflection in these situations. It doesn't seem like that's just something that comes naturally to her. Because when somebody tells her something about herself, it's immediately like, I don't agree in that kind of thing. She doesn't ever really take it in until it gets to a point where she feels like she has to apologize and say the things. Kind of like she did with Dylan. Like, I don't think that she was genuinely sad about, kissing Gal. I think that she was just sad about the perception of her with other people. And I think Mel was trying to say the same thing. Like, I don't think that you're 100% done exploring. And I said that in my review too. I think that had they not been on her neck like that, I don't think Dylan would have been in game. I just don't see it. I just don't see it for her, him at all. So it is what it is. I just don't think so. Mel and Sin are having a conversation at the same time. She says that she knows that she's going to be in a lot of trouble with Kenzie and that she's going to be upset. Sincere is still not understanding why people think that they're toxic. And it's like, I think Sincere is just, I don't know. He's a professional gaslighter. Like, are you trying to gaslight America the way you gaslight Mel? Like, what is going on? Which, Sincere, please, honey, just stop. Then we get, Parmita and Corbin, and they're having a conversation, and they feel like Kenzie's vote, she was being very petty in choosing them because Parmita feels that they are compatible, and because she stopped Corbin for voting for them, that Kenzie was just being petty by voting for them in return. I'm not going to lie, it probably was a little bit of spiteful vote, but until like maybe the last episode, they didn't give us anything about Corbin and Parmita other than that they talked about how hot they were and that they showered together. So if we're not in their chats and the other Islanders aren't in their chats, then I mean, I could see why she would say or think that it was just purely lustful, because that's all they've kind of said is like, we're hot and we like each other because we're hot. So whatever. Carl and Anaya, they have a conversation. They're very sweet. They are now are non-problematic. I'm glad that we can give Anaya a little break in this situation, because I feel like we've seen her crying and whining and complaining since like week 2. So it's very nice to see her at peace. Then we get a conversation from Casey and TT, and they're happy with the challenge that nobody voted for them. TT is like, essentially they can say whatever they want about us, but they can't say that we're not compatible. But she is sad that her Casa girls went home. She was very close with Amora. She was very close with Jaden. And now out of the Casa girls, it is just her and Parmita that are left. We get a conversation between Zach and Kata. To be honest, King Kata, I love you. Zach, I could care less. So whenever they come on the screen, I'm not the most checked in. I can't remember what that conversation was about. I'm sorry. Trinity and Bryce are happy together. Again, our couple that just seems to flow. Everything is good. We don't really have to worry about Trin and Bryce. I do like their catch up gossip sections, but overall, they are together. They are happy. There's not too much to say about them because they're just good. It's bedtime. Sin is still talking about he doesn't feel toxic. And I'm like, Sin, give it a break. Everybody knows that you were toxic. You just by you saying it over and over and over, you're not going to convince people that you're not toxic. We all see what you did. The whole villa has now seen what you did. Just own it. You're toxic. Move on. Whenever they wake up, we get a little shot, okay? We get a shot of them in the bed. And I saw a little hanky-panky between Trin and Bryce, but I was thinking, okay, she getting another little French fry, okay? No, she wakes up the next morning and she says, they was hunching. And she said it was good too. I said, okay, Trinity, get your man. Interesting. I definitely feel like they could have waited, just not waited to get out of the villa, but I think that they could have waited because I definitely think that if another hideaway type situation happens, Trinity and Bryce are definitely going to be the ones sent to the hideaway. I think that it's safe to say that they're going to send Trinity and Bryce. I think it's safe to say that they're going to send Anaya and Carl. Yeah, I think they'll send Trinity and Bryce or Anaya and Carl. I think that those are safe assumptions to make. But I don't think that they had to wait, because I just wouldn't have wanted my first time with my mans to have to be like quiet and spooning in a room full of people. But good for them. Melanie asked Parmita about the vote, and I liked that Parmita just kept it real. She said, you deserve better than that. I don't feel like you're compatible because you deserve better. And I feel like Parmita is the only person that has been keeping it real with Melanie and Sin, because the rest of them saying that they're team sincere, I will never understand. How can you be team sincere when your friend is getting played out? That is just so embarrassing. But I appreciate Parmita saying that. Parmita and Kinsey, I guess they have beef. We see a little back and forth. Parmita is saying that she was petty with the vote. Kinsey was like, going back and forth. They're having their little thing. And then ultimately Parmita's just like, okay, if you want to play it that way, I can play it that way too. Parmita might be me a little bit, not in the sense of the male-centered stuff that she does, because I do not care as much as she cares to be doing all of that behind a man, especially Corbin, but I will definitely give you the energy that you give me. I will definitely do that if you keep on. I will ignore stuff forever, but if you keep on, then I'm just going to give it back to you. So can't say anything about Parmita because I would be the same thing. We get a conversation between Casey and Sin, and they're talking about, seeing the video and how Corbin essentially said that he was like, backstabbed or whatever by Sin lying. And Casey is like, did you forget that you did all of that? And he just says, yeah. That is a scary man. That is the scariest man to kind of date. He doesn't even remember the lies that he told you, Melanie. You're crying and he doesn't even remember the lies he told. Corbin and Sin, they talk about the vote, and essentially Corbin just says that he did it as a friend. He felt like Sincere needed like a reality check, because all the stuff that he was doing was just, crazy, and that he needed to find, he needed someone to tell him the truth. and that Corbin was going to be the one to do it. Big ups to Corbin because, again, like Pramita, I feel like well, I do feel like the guys are keeping it real a little bit more than the girls are, but shout out to Corbin for doing what needs to be done. Melanie and Kinsey have a conversation, and I don't know if I missed at what point Melanie and Kinsey were best friends. I never knew that they were best friends. I knew that they were close in the beginning, but honestly, I did not perceive them as being close ever since Melanie was coupled up with Corbin. Once Melanie got coupled up with Corbin, I feel like Kinsey had so much aggression toward Melanie. Like, you remember she was, hanging out with Soul. She was pulling her for the chat. She was talking to Jen. Jen is my best friend. So I don't know where this best friend stuff came from. Maybe they were close in the first couple weeks and I'm just forgetting about it. But I have no recollection of their relationship that would have made me think that they were best friends. Melanie says that she has been Kinsey's best friend, but Kinsey has not been her best friend, not being like there for her. And maybe that is their dynamic because, like I said, I do not remember them being friends. Kinsey starts to cry whenever Melanie tells her how she felt about like the Soul thing and how their relationship kind of dwindled and everything like that. And I will say, I do feel bad for Kinsey, and it's not because of the stuff that she did, because she's a grown adult, and sometimes, it's just the consequences of your actions or whatever. But I do feel bad for her in the sense that I can only imagine that this is a super stressful situation, and then to have everybody kind of saying that you're doing too much or everybody calling out your actions, it must be a lot. And not just for her, but for KC, for Corbin, for anybody who has been in one of those positions where everything is solely on them. Melanie, just like all of those people that have had everything be, all the focus be put on them. I can only imagine how hard that is. So I do feel bad for Kinsey. We get a conversation between Dylan and Carl. This is so... I'm like, is everybody on Love Island a little bisexual? Because they're talking about, being in the villa, how they're happy to be there, how everybody is hot. Carl is talking about all the girls are hot in the villa. And Dylan is like, oh, wait, we're talking about the girls? Like, Dylan was saying all the guys were hot. Carl was talking about all the girls were hot. And I was just like, yo... if everybody on the season is bisexual, let's open it up because that could make this a little more interesting. If everybody can date everybody, I am not opposed. So then a text comes in and we find out that we're getting our first ever Love Island couple karaoke. I didn't know how to feel about this in the beginning, but I will say it did end up being cute. But at first I was kind of like, what in the world are they? They're just running out of stuff to do at this point. But I do think maybe this was a little palate cleansy, because I've said it has been a little heavy. So then we get shots of everybody practicing their moves. Of course, we get Pramita in a split. My girl loves a split. I said Pramita. We see everybody practicing for their... we see everybody practicing their karaoke numbers. We see my girl Kinsey in a split. I don't know how she does it, but she will always find a way. If there's a will, there's a way for Kinsey to clam slam. So then it's nighttime. We get everybody coming out. Our first couple is Parmita and Corbin, and they sing Dilemma by Nelly and Kelly Rowland. This was hilarious. Parmita singing is terrible. Corbin's rap, you could tell he was super nervous. He did mess up a little bit, but overall, I thought that was cute. A little bit hard to watch from the cringe, but funny as hell. Then the next people we have is TT and KC, and they sing Ain't No Mountain High Enough. I said, okay, this was cute. Choreo, it was very, very, very cute. I liked it. I don't have anything bad to say about it. We get Zach and Kata. They do Endless Love by Diana Ross. As much as I hate to say it, I did smile through this whole routine. It did seem like they were genuinely connected. It seemed a little bit more intimate. Kata cannot sing to save her life, but I did smile a little bit through that. We get Melanie and Sincere. They do You're the One That I Want, a nice little Grease number. I thought this was very fitting. It was cute. I loved Melanie's outfit. The more her and Sin are together, they're starting to look related. After they get off the stage, they kiss. So I guess it's safe to say they're good again. She forgave him because all of her friends are giving her terrible advice instead of letting her stand on her own. But I mean, I guess at this point in the game, forgiving him is the only way that you could stay. But I mean, you've been there all summer. If you leave a week early, they'll still be in the hotel waiting to come back because you're still going to do press, because this is about the time that Ace and Shelly got sent home last year, is it not? And they were still in Fiji. I don't know. I think that she could have moved on, but it's whatever. Then we get Anaya and Carl. They do Senorita, and I thought that this was cute. They had the choreography. I mean, this was honestly really cute, but I think with the other couples, they kind of just got kind of like lost in everything that was going on. We get Trin and Bryce, and they do No Air, and I'm not gonna lie, this was so this was so cute. I was like, okay, Bryson, I see you. This is very, very, very cute. And then our very last couple is Dylan and Kinsey, and they do Don't Go Breaking My Heart. They did real good. Like, they could pack this up and take it to Vegas. They did really, 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 really good. I was happy. But Ariana pretty much lets them know that the winner, whoever it'll be, there's like something good will come out of them winning. I can't remember what she says. Then she lets everybody know that America has been voting and some people are going to be safe. The people that are not safe are going to be sent home. So we find out that our safe couples are Anaya and Carl, Trin and Bryce, Mel and Sin, and Casey and TT. When I tell you I almost fell out of my seat, who in the hell voted for Mel and Sincere and TT and KC? I don't even like Zach and Kata together as a couple. But who in the heck voted for Melanie and Sincere? And don't get me wrong, I like Mel. I love girl Melanie. But I am not understanding at all why they are in the top. This is the same thing that y'all did last year with a certain Islander couple that should not have made it to the end. And not because anything was wrong with those people. It's just, it's not favorite island. It's couples island. Like, you can still like whoever you want to like. But this is about the couple that they're in. This has nothing to do with them as people. That's why I'm surprised. Like, I don't like Zach, but I'm not surprised. Ariana lets Kinsey and Dylan know that they're safe for winning the challenge. That's what she meant by this was going to be a challenge you wanted to win. And then she lets the Islanders know that there's one more bombshell. Out of those bottom people, they have to... Out of the bottom people, each couple is going to have to stand behind who they want to save. Because at this point, because Kinsey and Dylan were saved, the bottom is Parmita and Corbin and Kata and Zach. So Kata and Zach standing behind them have Trinity and Bryce, Anaya and Carl, Kinsey and Dylan, and Melanie and Sin. And then Corbin and Parmita, only KC and TT stand behind them, which I knew that they were going to save Zach and Kata because they had been there since the beginning. But I'm not going to lie. This ending was actually very, very sad for me. I'm not someone who typically cares for Corbin, but I think the editors do us dirty. They don't really... Especially this season, so much, I think that they have been listening to what the internet says. Because, like, even with all the AI jokes, they're like, oh, AI cries, like, blah, 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 blah. They've been feeding them what the outside says. And I think that that also plays into how these people act, because they're so hyper aware of their perception on TV. And I think that these shows used to be better when people would just live out loud a little bit. But honestly, the Love Island fandom is a little scary. So I can understand them kind of playing it low key because it's just a lot. But this was actually really sad. I was sad to see Corbin and Pramita go. Corbin does break down and cry to his homeboys in, once they're in the like back where they sleep and they're talking. And I just felt really, really bad. I don't know. Me personally, I would have been more okay with Kata and Zach going just because I don't really care for Zach. I know that the Islanders weren't going to let that happen, but I would have been more okay with that. But that's kind of where the episode ends. We see Parmita crying. We see Corbin crying. This was probably one of the saddest dumpings yet. To me, this was the saddest dumping this year. And yeah, it was just hard to watch. Like, these 2 episodes, a lot of people went home. There were a lot of heads in the house. I've been seeing, I follow Caleb on Instagram, and he is here in South Carolina. He is home now. I'm very excited to see like the press and stuff that they do afterwards. I'm ready for the interviews to start coming out so that we can get, some more background on what was going on behind the scenes, kind of like we did last year. Oh, speaking of last year, you guys, let me just give you guys a little tea. I know it's still in the Love Island realm. So this morning I woke up. I see multiple, go on Instagram and look, multiple posts saying that Shelly unfollowed Andreina and Ace because Clark was trying to hook them up. When I tell you, season 7, I don't know what we did to deserve season 7 because they are never going to stop. We are going to be getting good juice from them to the end of time. But I just think that that's crazy because Shelly recently did that interview where she was kind of like bigging up her relationship with Clark and saying how that when she left the villa, she was closest with Andreina and Clark. And I mean, I would assume that's true because of everything that happened with Ace. We didn't really see her with Olandria anymore. So we knew that that was kind of like, fizzled out. So her being close with Clark, Andreina, even Sierra, at first a little shocking, but whatever. But I did think that it was so interesting that Clark would be playing the middleman between Shelly and, between Ace and Andreina. Now, I did see that it was one of Shelly's family members that kind of confirmed that this happened. She tweeted and deleted. And then Andreina, I don't know why she answered a random fan and kind of answered what happened with her and Ace. She said that they had ran into each other a couple times, that Clark had kind of facilitated them, I guess, talking or whatever, and that Shelly felt some kind of way about it. I really don't know. I really, really don't know. But I did see somebody tagging Olandria and Nick in the comments. Leave those people alone. They do not care. This is their drama. This is why they don't really associate with people from the villa, because they weren't ever really friends like that. So leave those people alone. But I just wanted to give y'all that little bit of Love Island tea. Once Love Island ends this week, which I'm so sad about, once it ends, we'll just go back to regular tea format. So I hope that you guys will stick around. We'll still be covering all things Love Island, because when the season ended last year is really when the season had just begun. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be right here. This is What's Done in the Dark Tea. Like, follow, subscribe, share for all your Love Island content, celebrity gossip content, and hop on over to my true crime channel and get your spooky on. Okay? I will see you guys later. Have a great night. This is What's Done in the Dark Tea. Bye.